middle housing is important because it's just going to create more choices for people who want to live in walkable communities, closer to transit, parks, amenities, or jobs. And importantly, at a more affordable price point, because one of the benefits of middle housing, it takes that most expensive component of a new home is the land cost. And so with middle housing types, those land costs can be shared across more households.
Hello, Allison. Thanks for coming on with us today.
Well, hello, Jeff. It's really great to be here.
It's really nice to have you here today, Allison. We're looking forward to this interview.
And thank you, Joe.
So it was a successful year with the passage of housing and changing on things that came up in the state. Help us understand what missing middle housing is and why is it important?
Well, sure. Broadly speaking, middle housing refers to a range of housing types that are more mid-size. So it's more dense than single detached homes, but on a smaller scale than a large multifamily project. So examples would just include a duplex, a triplex, could be townhomes, could even be a small, modest size apartment building as well. But and I should mention the term missing. Where did that come from? Missing middle. It was coined by Daniel Paralek with Opticos Design, and it's really referring to the fact that they're missing because regulations and zoning often forbid them from being built. They used to be allowed, and you could find examples of older mid-sized homes kind of sprinkled throughout single-family neighborhoods. But I'd say starting around the 1920s or so, zoning changes started shifting to allowing only single detached homes, and really it was a way to legally segregate communities. And so now today you have on any given city, maybe half or more of the area zoned for residential are in single family.
Good. So with House Bill 1110, what does it do? How does it impact? Why did it take so long to come about? Are all the cities on board? Who likes it? Who doesn't like it? How's it going to impact people around the state?
Oh, wow. A lot of questions in there, Jeff, but I guess I'll just start with why is it so important to expand middle housing choices? Because the legislation would do just that. It would, in short, 1110 would allow more housing in more places for more people. There's my short answer. But from a policy perspective, this is important because we're in a housing shortage here in Washington. We don't have enough homes to meet the great need in our state. And so while it's not a silver bullet solution, it's going to provide another tool to add some gentle density in these single family zone neighborhoods in particular that I was mentioning. So and also this is important because a lot of cities this year are working on updates to they're called comprehensive plans. They're required by the Growth Management Act, and it's kind of their blueprint for how they're going to grow going forward. So having more middle housing choices just provides another tool for how they're going to meet some of that housing demand. And then I'll just add, from a perspective of anyone looking for a home, middle housing is important because it's just going to create more choices for people who want to live in walkable communities, closer to transit, parks, amenities, or jobs. And importantly, at a more affordable price point, because one of the benefits of middle housing, it takes that most expensive component of a new home is the land cost. And so with middle housing types, those land costs can be shared across more households, and in theory, make them a more affordable price point, more accessible to more people. So that's the benefit or the promise of middle housing.
Good. So were all the cities on board, or did some lag behind? And why would they oppose such a bill?
Right. Well, I should mention there are some cities who already have been up front in adopting middle housing changes. City of Kirkland is one example, but in other places are just starting to maybe allow duplexes on a corner lot, things like that. But I'd say by and large, there definitely was a lot of resistance among cities and local governments. Not all, but there were many who opposed it. I think it really came down to the local control, concern that they would be giving up something. They would be giving up their ability to decide where housing goes and how it goes. And in particular, I think they're reacting to resistance from their constituents, from maybe current residents who live in single family neighborhoods already. They're established. They like the community look and feel as it is, and they're I think concerned about what changes would come with this. So there was some resistance, and I think a lot of conversations that happened with cities throughout this process. But at the end of the day, there was a long list of stakeholders who were in support of this legislation, and it had bipartisan support. And so finally, after a lot of negotiating, we finally arrived at legislation, and so we think is a good thing. Will create positive change for housing over time.
Good. And some of that was broken down by the city size, correct? So the different things were allowed depending upon, the size of the city.
That's right. That's right. So if you're a smaller city, let's start there with population of 25,000 or less, then you're not affected. If they can choose to make these changes if they would like, but they're not required under the legislation to make a change. If you move up from 25,000 to 75,000 population, well, now that you'll be required to allow duplexes at a minimum, up to duplexes on all residential lots, But if you're within a quarter mile of a major transit stop, then up to a quadplex, and also other areas of the city. If you're going to make one of those affordable, that was another allowance. And then for the largest cities from 75,000 population on up, it would require allowing up to quadplexes on all lots, and then that ability again to move up to a sixplex if you are within that quarter mile of transit, or if you're allowing some affordable housing units in the mix. And one other component as well is it was an important change is it eliminated parking requirements if you're in a half mile of a major transit stop. So that was a big policy change in the mix. But I guess I want to emphasize one thing too, that this is not a ban on single family housing. I think some had that concern that this means we're now required to add more dense housing, and that's not the case. So people will still have the opportunity to buy, build, sell single family home if they so choose. This is not a ban on single family as some of the headlines may have suggested.
Good. And as you mentioned, timing wise too, I mean, it's going to go through the comprehensive plan. It takes some time to adopt this, and then just because it's adopted doesn't mean people have to go ahead and do it. We'll probably see a phase in of people slowly as properties transition that this may be added in.
That's right. That's right. And the legislation specifies that it's not required, or cities aren't required to update their codes to allow this until 6 months after they adopt their next comprehensive plan. Well, those are not due until the end of 2024. So I would say it would be mid 2025 at the earliest where you will see cities reacting to this legislation, making those code changes. But even then, it's not going to be overnight. We're going to see middle housing spring up everywhere. I think it's going to be more gradual as everyone figures out how to do this and what works and what doesn't work, what the market will support. A lot has to happen, but it will be, I believe, gradual. I think it's going to be over time more of a game changer in a longer window of time. But in the short run, mid 2025, before those code changes will have to be made.
So, Allison, who's going to benefit from HB 1110?
Well, sure. There was a long list of the stakeholders who supported this bipartisan legislation, and so it's interesting to see who supported it and why. I mean, we'll start with us. Builders, we support it because there is a shortage of housing, and so we're looking for opportunities to create that infill housing to meet that need for housing. Realtors supported it because they want to be able to provide more housing opportunities for their clients and quality neighborhoods. And another group you might not expect, AARP, a big supporter of middle housing. Because they're looking for more housing opportunities for older adults who want to improve their ability to age in place. So that's a big topic of conversation for them. Sightline Institute and the environmental community, they were big supporters of this legislation. They support dense housing because of the environmental benefits. It's going to ideally bring people closer to jobs, amenities, and transit opportunities. So it cuts down on those long commutes and greenhouse gas emissions. So there's environmental benefits that really brought the environmental community on board. Nonprofits like Habitat for Humanity, they're looking for more housing types to be able to provide to people in need of housing. Another group, Black Home Initiative. So there's a terrific effort underway right now that is looking to increase the number of Black homeowners. In our area, in our state, the Black home ownership rate is about half of what it is for white households. So this is a terrific effort to try to increase that. And they supported middle housing along with other policy changes. It's a way to facilitate first-time homeownership opportunities for more people, and including those who have been historically excluded in neighborhoods of opportunity. And then the business community and labor, they supported it because they want the ability to have their workers be able to live closer to the jobs. And last of all, even from a private property rights perspective, we heard this come out in the floor debate in the Senate, that the argument to be made for private property rights, because currently homeowners are limited to only building one home on their lot. So this will actually open up more housing choices they can do on their own property. So those are just I don't think I hit everyone, but those are just examples of who supported it and why, and it gets at the question of who benefits.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen a lot of groups seem to come together, and I've seen that too, being as a broker. I mean, affordability, how do your kids live near you want, and and if you could have more opportunities there is going to help, on the affordability for people to live and even age into the same place they have in their community they are. So I see this being as a good, as you said, not a silver bullet, but another opportunity to increase housing. We're still going to need a lot more from what I'm hearing, but this is at least an opportunity to fill in some of that need.
That's right. Absolutely. So we're excited and look forward to seeing how this plays out.
Well, in addition to Housing Bill 1110, there's also House Bill 1337, which is also addressing ADUs that recently just passed. How do you see that playing out as well?
Oh, that's another, from our perspective, another great bill that passed this session. And I think there had been several efforts in the last 2 or 3 legislative sessions to pass ADU reform. What this is doing is another tool to add some of that gentle density into existing single family neighborhoods. It's a way to add either an accessory dwelling, ADU accessory dwelling unit, so that's can be attached to a primary home, a single family home, or it can be detached. It can be a backyard cottage that's detached from the primary home. But the legislation that passed is very similar to reforms that City of Seattle made in 2019 to allow ADUs, and this will legalize 2 ADUs per lot in any configuration of ADU or attached and detached up to at least 1,000 square feet. It legalizes the sale of ADUs as condominiums, and we were talking about this earlier. That's going to be very attractive. And it will prohibit owner occupancy requirements and cap some of those impact fees at half of those charged on the primary house. And so this will really open up the opportunity for this particular housing type that is popular for many. And we know City of Seattle, when they passed these reforms, as I say, in 2019, the amount of permits for them, I think, about tripled since that time. So we really have seen that take off and see a lot of interest in ADUs. So we're excited about this legislation too.
Well, keeping in line with that, is there any other bills that maybe didn't pass that you were looking at that you would like to see come up again maybe in the future?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, and it had bipartisan support, what was a bill that would have created a path forward to build more transit-oriented development. So we've been talking about middle housing and types, but transit-oriented development would be more dense housing type, and as the name suggests, located around major transit stations, and really understanding the amount of housing need that there is, and the fact that cities are going to have to plan for all affordability levels, the ability to have sort of those mid to larger size apartment homes located near transit, environmentally friendly. That's so important. So that bill did not make it across the line this year, and I would foresee it will come back. So just need some more work. But then there was another bill, a lot splitting bill. It just would have allowed individual property owner to divide their lot and sell off the other parcel. That to allow some more gentle density would have been another tool in the toolbox. We liked it, but also didn't make it across the line. I think in the context of middle housing bill and ADU legislation passing, it was maybe not sure about how they would all work together. So that was another one. But I think you're likely to see more legislation related to transit-oriented development. And on a related note, one having to do with housing benefit districts. It's a way to assemble land and together around transit centers and add housing and create affordable housing opportunities. So these are more I expect will come back in future sessions.
Thank you. And I think something I'm thinking about, what advice would you give to a student, someone that wants to be more involved in these kind of policy decision making regarding housing issues?
Right. Well, for one thing, I think we already mentioned comprehensive plans. There's a lot of cities that are undertaking those plans this year and next, and part of that is a housing element. So there's going to be a lot of conversations happening around housing. And so if there's a given jurisdiction that students are interested in, I would suggest reach out to the city or county and get signed up for updates related to their comprehensive plan and get plugged into those process. That's where a lot of the conversation on housing is going to happen at the local level, in particular, in the next 2 years. So that's a good opportunity. I would add to that, we are part of a coalition of a lot of different housing stakeholders. It's called Coalition for More Housing Choices. So we put out a twice-a-month newsletter that talks about housing activities, a variety of opportunities to be engaged, and just updates on what's going on in housing. So I would suggest signing up for that twice-monthly newsletter, and it's morehousingchoices.org is where one can go. The other two things I'd mention quickly is an easy one. Everyone on social media, follow housing stakeholders on social. I know they're all over Twitter in particular, but groups like Sightline Institute, just a variety of good groups. Well, and I would add to that list master builders too, of course, but follow housing stakeholders. You'll get a lot of great information. And then last of all, if you're interested in what's going on in Olympia at the state in particular, follow legislators on social, particularly those who prime sponsored housing bills this past session, or chair housing committees. That's another great way to keep up to date and just to hear of those opportunities to get engaged and lots of different ways. But then I'll stop there.
Well, Allison, you're such a wealth of information. I think we've known each other 10 plus years. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into all this, as well as a little bit about the Master Builders Association.
Oh, sure thing. Well, just quickly, for my background, I studied political science in college and graduate school, and worked for a congressman in Washington, D.C. Early in my career. I was a legislative aide. but I eventually made my way out here and over to Master Builders Association. I've actually been there for over 20 years now, working on housing policy, and I love it. I absolutely love it. The issues are really they affect everyone. Housing is an issue that affects everyone. So I love working with our members on housing and other external stakeholders on these issues. But the Master Builders Association is the oldest and largest local home builders association in the country, affiliated with National Association of Home Builders. We've been around since 1909. We have 2,500 member companies in King and Snohomish counties that are affiliated. They're involved in all facets of the home building industry, from builders, remodelers to suppliers. We have realtors, architects, engineers, a range of professions connected to construction. And really, we're active in housing advocacy, as we've just been talking about. But also, it's a great place for members to come and network. We have a Built Green program that certifies homes as environmentally friendly. We have a professional women in building council, education opportunities, and do a lot of work in the community to give back to the community, like our Rampathon program. So just a fantastic place for the industry members and others to connect and engage on housing.
Good. And I've been a member over the years and know the benefits of it, the networking and the community and getting together for small groups at breakfast that talk about things with builders in the industry and changes. So if people wish to connect with the master builders, what's the best way for them to do so?
Sure. I would say head to our website at MBAKS.com. And on there, you scroll all the way to the bottom and you'll see we're on every social channel. So I would say go to our website first and check it out, but then go to the bottom and follow us on our social channels that are listed there. And also we have a quarterly external newsletter. It's called our quarterly update. So you can go again to our website, mbaks.com, and navigate over and sign up for our quarterly update. I think that's where you're going to get the all-inclusive updates on our upcoming housing solutions breakfast, our Built Green conference, just other ways that anyone can attend. So I definitely invite people to check us out.
Yeah, great site. I've been there too. And I also get your daily news briefs of what's happening in the news. I get those every morning about 8 a.m., which is just, I don't have to go search for stories. Also things on what cities are doing with their ADU policy. I could go from there. I know it needs to be updated in some cities because things are always changing, but the MBA site's just such a wealth of information. And you as an organization, it's been great. So thank you for coming on today and sharing your knowledge and the knowledge of what's going on in the industry. Keep up the good work and let us know if things are going to change in the future and what we should know about.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. And yes, please do check out the Master Builders Association.